periodically, I get the impression that somehow or another the history of the Tuskegee Airmen is slowly fading. One of the reasons I say that is because I attend almost daily a senior citizen facility for breakfast and lunch. It's because I don't like to cook. I'll burn my house down. And when I go to the facility, there are two groups of table, men and women. When I was introduced to this facility, I was told that the guys over there is called the board, and the table that has most of the ladies are called the committee. Somehow or another, I got accepted into the group where the board is. And here's what I've been finding out since I've been attending this senior citizen facility in Eastport. Nobody talks about World War II. It's the Vietnam War, the Korean War, and you can hear the arguments. It's almost like a barber shop. I said, but what about World War II? It's never mentioned. When I was encouraged by the Spirit to come here today, I thought I'd say just this. I am so appreciative of the entire staff involved with this museum, a part of which deals with the Tuskegee Airmen, that I feel pretty good right now. I know that even though some of the people that I'm around daily will elect this lapse, say after I die, and we have books on it, that programs such as this is going to last. In viewing the exhibit, every exhibit that I've seen, even at Warner Robins Air Force Base on the Tuskegee Airmen, there's something that's omitted, which is a sore point with me. To explain it, a boxer who wins a medal, a track runner, a football player, they get all of the accolades for being good, is never asked who taught you. And I'm speaking of teachers. With everything that you see around here, prayerfully, and I might challenge this museum, that I'll come back in 6 months, I would like to see something, even if it's just one little exhibit, 4 by 5 feet, and what I'm going to say in a few minutes. I'd like to see this. If you saw a recent movie made by HBO on the Tuskegee Airmen, most of the story was a little distorted, a lot distorted. And I'll back up by explaining to you what I'm trying to say. The training of a pilot during World War II is not like going out to Kennesaw Airport, Fulton County Airport, Peachtree Airport. There was a world war going on. This thing that we're having over in Europe now, it's like a skirmish. It's a war, but it wasn't like World War II. When it was decided to have an experimental, separate but equal, all Negro flight training, and it was established that the training would take place in Tuskegee. Without saying a word, I just want to ask a question, and I want you to hold up your hand and do like this or this or this. How many fields was used to train the Negro youth during, who eventually became the Tuskegee Airmen? So just raise your hand if it's 1 field, 2 fields, or 3 fields. A little higher, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, there were 2 fields. The first was a primary field, which still exists, and the National Park Service has now made a museum out of it. From here, it would take about, considering we're in Kennesaw, about 2 hours drive. From where I live in Southwest Atlanta, 1 hour and 45 minutes. here's what I want you to remember. When it was decided to have an experimental, separate but equal all-Negro flight training, over 11,000 Negro youth volunteered. Yet, when the war ended, you just heard less than 1,000 completed the course. So what happened to the other 10,000? The training of an airman in the military is in 4 phases. Try to explain to you that you won't forget. Pre-flight. Pre meaning before flight. And there are 4 phases. Each phase has an upper and lower. Lower pre-flight, upper pre-flight. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, Tuskegee Army Airfield, the number 2 field, did not exist yet the training had started. At a field called Moton, M-O-T-O-N. In the movie that was made for HBO, it showed the first phase of flying, which is the second phase of the course, called primary, meaning first. It was taught by a cadre of Negro flight instructors who were already teaching long before Tuskegee Army Airfield ever existed. And there were women flying in those days. In fact, one of the instructors and his wife, Colonel Carter and Mrs. Carter, are still living in Tuskegee, Alabama. Negro instructors. Basically, that's all I wanted to tell you. When they finished pre-flight and went to primary, lower primary and upper primary, the base was finished about 6-7 miles away, in which they completed, if they were lucky, the 3rd and 4th last part of the course, which is called basic and advanced. I have devoted my life to recognizing the people who taught the famous Tuskegee Airmen, the Red Tails, the bomber pilots. Hired Little here, washed out of flight training, and became a recycler himself as a bombardier. I ask people today, do you know what a bombardier is? Do you know what a navigator is? I said as well, in a large airplane, when you see in the movies, it's a bomb bay doors open. Over the target, he's the guy, presses the button that releases the bomb. It's on target. That's a separate rating, separate course, separate commission. And then, to get there, the pilot takes off. He's got a whole bunch of guys in the back of him. How do I get there? He tells the navigator, who's hired. That's that second rating. When they drop the bombs over the target, and they pull away so that the act-on guns on the ground can't shoot them down because of consistent flying, the pilot doesn't know how to go home. He says, how do I go home? Go back to the navigator. That's Mr. Leroy, right? Ladies and gentlemen, I think, if I remember correctly, the cycle got going with something like 46 or 56 Negro instructors who taught the first phase of flying. I would like to see Kennesaw State University have a little something to show what happened before these guys became famous. Who taught them? And I'll end by saying, later in my life, I became what they call an FAA inspector. No longer a teacher. I've been teaching all my life. But then I become the inspector, the evaluator. And for the first time, I discovered that there were 3 tolerances. A private tolerance, private license, a commercial license, commercial pilot, doesn't mean airline. It's just that the test tolerances, it's narrow. And the last one is called airline transport pilot. That's the guy you see 4 stripes on the sleeve. It took me 38 years of teaching and never knowing how I was teaching to find out that the instructors who taught those young black youth how to fly to a 0 tolerance. And that's why they became the famous Tuskegee Airmen. Thank you.
We want to be mindful of the time, so a couple things that I want to remind you about. One, we'd like to invite you to stay for our hospitality and lunch, which you will see around the corner, but also to announce that the exhibit will be here through January. We're planning, we've had such an overwhelming response for the traveling exhibit. We're actually going to make a second copy. The exhibit will open on January 10th at the Auburn Avenue Research Library in downtown Atlanta. So we're really excited about that opportunity in conversations with the Atlanta History Center and other venues, so it will have a chance to travel. I want to remind you that Eley is available to talk about her book, but most importantly, the airmen themselves will be here and available to let you come forward, introduce yourself, and hear about their stories. But before we do that, Patricia actually has, I think on the table in the back, if you are interested in having the exhibit come to your school or church or community center, we have a form that we would ask you to fill out, and we certainly make that available for free. That's one of our sort of mandates and something that we take very seriously. But I want to invite all of the airmen and Mr. Jones, of course, to lead the way up to the ribbon so we can do the official ribbon cutting for the exhibit. I've got scissors, 10 pair of scissors. Patricia, do you mind? Can we, Mr. Williams, why don't we put you up front in your wheelchair? You mind if you scoot this back just a little bit, and we will have everybody come forward, come and stand in front of the ribbon. Dr. Dickey, students, let's come around, get all of the original ribbons. Hold on to your scissors. Hang on. Hang on. Get excited. Sarah, come on. Okay, excellent. Are you positioned? All right, scoot up everybody. Hold on, do we have the whole group? All right, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Officially open the exhibit. So the exhibit is officially open. We'd invite you to stay for lunch, walk through the main exhibit.